Good evening, and welcome to the Quite Trippy podcast. This is your cousin Sherry, still hanging out in the treehouse, and it's mighty blue out there, so we're going to stay inside today. Go through the Q posts, and there's 4 or 5 of them today. And the first one is 3819. Something about the Q post, in case you didn't know, there's a folder right next to every link that they put in there, and if you click on the folder you get an archived version of that news article, so you can bypass any subscription. They make you subscribe after you viewed an article, so just in case, if you're going through the Qs on qmap.pub, again, that's always direct people to see the Q post for yourself. So Q post 3819 is from December 4th 2019 article in the Miami Herald regarding Congresswoman Powell. And I'll just read you a little bit from this. You can go there to read the whole thing. It says, things have changed since Powell became one of the first lawmakers to call for an impeachment inquiry into Trump in June. At the time, she was concerned about the contents of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and subsequent efforts by Trump to hinder the probe. Now nearly every House Democrat is in favor of impeaching the president over his decision to withhold military aid from Ukraine, while subsequently urging the Ukrainian president to investigate Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, a potential opponent in the 2020 election. So that's the gist of it. And the next article is also from the Miami Herald, and it was right after the 2018 election. And it says, the husband of Miami Democrat hoping to unseat, this is right before the election, not right after. The husband of Miami Democrat hoping to unseat U.S. Rep. Carlos Curbelo this November has financial ties to an Eastern European oligarch dogged by allegations of contract killings and embezzlement. That's no joke. Public records show that Debbie Powell's husband, Robert Powell, spent much of the last 10 years as general counsel for companies owned, at least in part, by Igor Kolomoisky, a wealthy Ukrainian businessman involved in banking and mining. In federal financial disclosures, Powell reported that her husband of 15 years earned most of their household income during the previous 2 years, at least $695,000, from a ferroalloys trading corporation associated with Kolomoisky. So, read those 2 articles, and after that, Q writes, 5 by 5, welcome to the D party, and he puts D in the kill brackets. Well done, Anons. So basically, they did some digging on this notable member of Congress, and she has every reason to recuse herself because she not only has a financial interest in it, she's she's causing trouble for Trump, so she got to go. But Q is thanking the Anons for getting this research out there because we're fighting in real time here. Okay, the next Q post is 3820. And okay, post 3820 is a picture. And it says, haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. And there's a link to an article here, and this is about Shifty Schiff and his relationship with an oligarch in the Ukraine, again, always in the Ukraine, and what is his name? Igor Pasternak. I think it's Pasternak. So, yeah, there's an article you can read. Just again, another relationship with a congressperson who totally has an interest in wanting to see Trump out. So, they're all corrupt. They should all be out. And this is a big old charade, and they're just kind of playing a game with the American public. and so many people still falling for it. They're trying to make it about everything else except what it is, and they need to start getting in trouble for the things that they did. They have no right to be in Congress because of because of all the laws they're breaking. Yet we got to play this game to take them down in a totally legit way, and it's working. I can't believe it's working, but it's starting to. We're starting to expose it, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the next Q post is 3821. It's about Admiral Rogers. It just says who was the 17th director of the NSA, and there's an article about one of my favorite stories about this whole election, and it's it's about them wanting to remove him as head of the NSA, all the guys in the Obama administration, and the top intelligence people like Brennan and Comey and, the usual suspects wanting to remove him. Why? Because he's an upstanding, fine officer. And it talks about him and, leaving the, going to Trump Tower to tell Trump that they are listening to you, and Trump having to relocate his meeting because he was being spied on. So I think that's it for that Q post. Okay, and the next one is post 3822, and this one is about Admiral Rogers and Durham, and they've met on several, not just once. They met on several occasions, which is exciting because we know that Rogers knows where the bodies are buried, and Durham's trying to dig up the bodies or uncover them, or at least uncover what they did or who did it to them. So this is just a Q proof, talking about an old Q post from July 9th saying AG and Rogers meeting. Durham and Rogers meeting? Why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit POTUS at Trump Tower without authorization shortly after a skiff was installed? Why did select former ABC directors call for the removal of Rogers? Why did POTUS move his transition command center, base of ops, from Trump Towers the very next day? Q. And then from The Intercept is an article saying former NSA director is cooperating with probe of Trump-Russia investigation. So it says former director of the National Security Agency has been cooperating with the Justice Department probe into the origins of counterintelligence investigation of the Trump presidential campaign's alleged ties to Russia, according to 4 people familiar with Rogers' participation. Rogers has met the prosecutor leading the probe, Connecticut U.S. Attorney John Durham, on multiple occasions. So, that is a fantastic Q proof right there. And there's one more after that, and it says, it's just simply a picture of the American flag, and the name of it is In God We Trust, Ping. So, you should always look at the names of the pictures. Sometimes it gives you a little bit of information and clues. This one I think is pretty straight up. I don't think there's anything different about this flag. And, okay, so that is that for the Q posts. And in other news, there's that, that little coronavirus thing. I don't want to say too much about that. I know that you're probably hearing stuff about that everywhere. Just that the, what do you call it? Sorry about the noise there. Okay, the coronavirus outbreak has now been declared a public health emergency. So, and the White House held a briefing about it. And I will leave a link down below to that. That way you can see it if you haven't. But again, they're just kind of stressing that it's not a problem here yet. And I did everything I could to read their body language and stuff, and I didn't get an indication that they were trying to hide anything. I don't know, except for maybe the guy, the short guy, but never mind. They weren't trying to hide anything. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared. I'm prepared. I have extra gas, canned food, protection for my home. I don't think it ever hurts to be like that because I live in the Northeast, and around here we get these snowstorms, these nor'easters, where we didn't have power for 10 days, 2 weeks, and I can see society starting to break down at the gas stations. It doesn't take long for people starting to act crazy, so I just say cover yourself, because people can get weird. And okay, let's see, what else do I have for you? We got Rand Paul, and he's speaking up a little bit, which I think is great because no one else is saying anything about the whistleblower. So I have a link to a video of him, which I will put down below as well. But what he says in this video is, he's talking about up in Congress, the questions he asked. He says, I didn't identify anybody or propose that anyone was the whistleblower, Paul said, but I did identify 2 Obama partisans that have worked in the National Security Council, Sean Misko, who works for Adam Schiff, and then I also identified Eric Ciaramella. They're friends. They work together on the National Security Council. There are allegations that they actually plotted together as much as a year or 2 ago to say that we've got to bring this president down, Paul revealed. So it's kind of extraordinary, all the people who actually came to the National Security Council. I count maybe 6 people who know each other really well. So you've got Sean Misko, the 2 other people on Adam Schiff's team from the National Security Council, all activist Democrats who used to be in the National Security Council. You've got the Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and his brother. So there's 2 Vindmans. They're over at the National Security Council. And this fellow, Eric Ciaramella. So you've got 6 people who know each other, and the question is, wouldn't we want to know if they've been discussing for maybe months to plan to bring the president down once they got a chance? So, thank you, Rand Paul. Again, I feel like it's just a big game. It's like the pink elephant in the room. And the last bit of news I have is, if you haven't been tuning in to Rudy Giuliani's new podcast, he is already on his 3rd episode of Common Sense. And in this particular episode, he starts to interview Shokin, the prosecutor that was trying to break up the corruption in Ukraine, or expose the corruption in Ukraine, the one that they're calling the corrupt, them accusing people of everything that they are and they're doing, straight out of the playbook. But yes, he's on episode 3, and I'll put a link to that below as well. But I suggest that you tune into all of them. It's great. He's doing it as if he's trying the case. And also, stressing that nobody's trying this case. They should be. Come on. Crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. I want to see some of this stuff. It's getting exposed, and I think that's fabulous, and more people are listening. But I want to see some real justice. And I guess we still have to be patient. So, yeah, I'm doing that. And I guess that's about all I have for you today. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. And there's no new Q posts since I started doing this. Right. No new Q posts, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. And I will see you maybe tomorrow. Have a great day, and tomorrow's Groundhog Day, I think, huh? Well, I hope that he doesn't see his shadow, Puxatawny Phil. Bye. Like and subscribe. Sorry about yelling at you. If you could please like and subscribe. I'm really trying to build up my subscribers to 1,000 so I could start doing this live instead of recording, because it's just so impersonal. I'd like to talk to you directly. Bye.